Howdy, 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 my name is Nachos Oscar. Welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we started off the 1300s with Liquid Surgeon, the Singing Violin, Lost Chaser, Hunting Cavern, and Metafictional Rebirth Ritual. Today we're going to be looking at Cat Lure, Potion of Summon Bird, the Person Sharpener, Hungarian Floater, and Time-Locked Town. So, does the Cat Lure do what it sounds like? Is my microphone picking up that dog barking? I don't know. It's Euclid. SCP-1305 is to be contained within a wildlife observation facility located at Site-77. There is to be a feeding chamber and a resting chamber. Once per week, a pig or other similarly sized animal is to be released into 1305's containment chamber to feed it. It will then be compelled to retreat to its resting chamber through direct application of bright light. Wait, so it's not a lure for cats, it's a cat that is a lure? Following this, 2 D-Class personnel are to clear the interior of the feeding chamber observed by security personnel. Description: SCP-1305 is a mammalian organism with an ovoid body and 6 multi-jointed legs. It has 1 large flexible jaw located on the front of body, containing a large tongue in 1305's lure. It weighs approximately 1,500 kilograms with a height of 2 meters and is, although it is known to be able to contort and compress its body to fit spaces 1/16 of its size. When active, SCP-1305 will attempt to hide itself in a dark enclosed area, such as a cupboard or closet. When it has hidden itself sufficiently, it may release a lure at the end of its tongue, most commonly resembling a domesticated animal such as a domestic cat. Similarity between 1305's mimicry behaviors and that of instances of 1513 has been noted. Investigation into the possibility of a shared origin for both anomalies is ongoing. This lure will usually display behaviors expected of the organism it is imitating and attempt to bring human subjects to 1305. This sounds like the ice cream thing, the ice cream stand from the first SpongeBob movie. So, in most cases, when a subject approaches the lure, it will revert to the shape of a prehensile tongue wrapping around the subject's body. 1305 will then attempt to bring the subject into its mouth and consume them. The consumption usually takes between 16 to 24 hours, during which it will use the lure to draw in additional subjects. Testing has shown that there appears to be no limitation on the number of subjects it is able to consume at once. As 1305 consumes additional organic matter, it will create additional lures, which it will send into the structure it inhabits. These lures will be highly audible, especially at times when human subjects are within the structure. In addition, these lures may take the form of subjects 1305 has consumed, primarily taking the form of subjects that its prey was familiar with. This process will continue until no prey organisms are left within the area, at which point 1305 will sever itself from its added mass and move to a new area. SCP-1305 was recovered from a residential home on July 19, 1953, after reports of the homeowner going missing under mysterious circumstances reached Foundation personnel and redacted. As of August 11, 1953, it has been classified as Euclid. Document recovered with SCP-1305. Had a bad day today. Mr. Shaw was being really rude, interrupted me during my presentation. I've been working on that thing for months and he had to open his big fat mouth to ruin it, the jerk. Rest of the day was pretty average. I think the cat is back though, because Jimmy said he heard scraping on his bedroom window. He seemed kinda spooked, but I got him into bed in about an hour. Jimmy was at his mom's house today, so I had the place to myself. The food I set out for the cat was gone, which is a good sign. I'm gonna put the next one closer to the door and leave it open a crack, see if it comes in. Saw the cat today. It was on the windowsill. After I came in when Jimmy said he heard scratching. The police say they haven't found any notes for kidnapping. God, I feel sick to my stomach. Jimmy is gone. Someone is taking my son. Please, God, let him be okay. I'm alone today. Jim's gone. Oh, okay. Jim's gone and his fucking mother left town. I'm sure she has something to do with it. I don't care what Bannister says. He's out there somewhere. I heard the cat scratching again today. Jimmy liked it a lot. I saw him today. He's alive. He was there outside my window looking in and waving. Okay, so the thing took his kid, and then it took his wife, and then it pretended to be his kid, and it took him too. Dang. Alright, next up we got Potion of Summon Bird. Do you like throw it at the ground and a bird appears, or is it more sinister than that? What the heck is Safe Doctrina? Is this a part of that thing that someone said they sent me a video about them changing how the things are rated? When did this come out? It was last edited June 2020, 600 days ago. Exactly 600 days? Huh. Weird. For new users. Anyway, the exact recipe for 1306 is known only to Site-40's current director and 2 researchers of said director's choice. Currently, Site Director Adams, Researcher Evans, and Researcher Estevez are entrusted with this information. All proposed tests must be approved by one of these 3 individuals. A piece of paper detailing 1306 is kept in a sealed envelope in locker R13 at Site-40's low-value storage wing. All radio programs, television programs, books, magazines, etc. that deal with the topic of birds must be screened prior to release for content pertaining to 1306 before being released to the general public. Any persons found to have knowledge of SCP-1306 must be interviewed and subsequently administered Class C amnestics. A feeder is to remain in place outside of Site-40 for purposes of testing 1306. Instances of one are to be observed and all information logged. Any attempts to catch instances of one are forbidden. Description: SCP-1306 is a bird food recipe calling for equal parts by weight, sunflower seeds, peanut butter, and 4 ingredients not commonly found in bird food, 2 of which are normally poisonous to birds. Despite its ingredients, birds fed 1306 do not show any signs of illness from consuming it, although 1306 alone is not sufficient to meet the dietary needs of any bird. When it is prepared and placed in an appropriate feeder outdoors, a variety of birds will arrive at a rate of approximately 2 birds per hour and consume a quantity of 1306. This behavior will continue until all of it is consumed. These birds, collectively 1, will appear from the nearest unobserved area. Instances of 1 generally display properties that would qualify them for special containment procedures under other circumstances, including significant deviations from typical avian anatomy or behavior. It is hypothesized that 1 do not exist prior to their appearance. Tests have shown them capable of emerging from closed, empty containers. No instance of 1 has ever been caught. Any attempts made to contain them has resulted in failure. Reasons for failure have included unexpected displays of strength or speed from the instance and equipment failure. After consuming a small amount of 1306 relevant to their body size, instances of 1 will retreat to the nearest unobserved area. There is currently no evidence indicating that 1 exists after this. It is thus considered safe to test 1306 without concern that instances of 1 will escape into the wild. Observation Log 81 Gamma. A sample of 1306 was placed in a feeder outside Site-40 approximately 0.3 meters off the ground. The following information was collected between the hours of 2:21 in the afternoon and 7:30 in the evening on April 9th, 1943. The feeder was refilled hourly. Description: this is the first bird. Similar to an adult male Congo peacock in appearance, feathers glowed blue and emitted heat. Later analysis shows that this was consistent with low levels of Cherenkov radiation. Subject approached the feeder, consumed a small amount, and left. The ground was tested and shown to be mildly radioactive for 10 minutes afterwards. Next up was a barn owl. Gates suggested that it was incapable of flight due to an injury. Upon reaching the base of the feeder, subject began to scratch unidentified symbols into the surrounding dirt. After 4 minutes, the subject's legs grew to a height of 0.4 meters. The subject then consumed a small amount of 1306 and left. A southern crowned pigeon was missing both legs and the majority of its bowels and its left wing. There was no indication that it was alive. Subject floated towards the feeder through unknown means. A small amount was observed to leave the feeder and float into the subject's mouth. It then left in a similar manner. A specimen of wild turkey that had apparently been freshly coated in a large amount of red, white, and blue paint approached the feeder, slipping twice on small pools of paint dripping from its body. Subject consumed a small amount and left, falling 3 more times on the way back. A specimen of common kiwi that had no visible legs did not approach the feeder. Instead, what is believed to be a hollow length of bone extended from its mouth to the feeder an estimated 3.5 meters. The subject acquired a small amount of 1306 with this appendage and retracted the bone, then left. And an adult female ostrich. Subject approached the feeder and turned directly to face Research Assistant Jacobs, who was not visible from its position. Subject spoke the phrase, "I bet you weren't expecting this, were you, Mikey?" in a voice closely resembling R.A. Jacobs' father before consuming a small amount of a small amount of the food and leaving. A group of a group of bird legs corresponding to at least 7 different species reaching approximately 2 meters in length. Subject appeared to sprout from the ground near the feeder and extend upwards. Each leg acquired a small amount of 1306 and retreated into the ground. What appears to be a juvenile golden retriever in a hummingbird costume made of construction paper. Subject used the costume to fly to the feeder in a manner similar to that of a hummingbird, consume a small amount of 1306, and leave. How this was accomplished is unknown, as the subject did not exhibit the aerodynamic or muscular properties appropriate for this behavior. Testing was halted at this time as the supply of 1306 had been exhausted. How was this a real SCP and not one of the joke ones? Like, it was serious and weird up until, like, the Kiwi, and then the ostrich showed up, and the rest of them were just batshit from there. How was this a serious one? Anyway, the Person Sharpener. I don't know, maybe I don't know how I feel about that. We'll find out. It's safe because it's a sharpener. SCP-1307 is to be kept in a standard hazardous object containment storage at Site 19. No pencils shall be stored or brought within 6 meters of it, or meters. Under no circumstances outside of testing should a pencil be placed in the hole in the front of 1307, unplugged or otherwise. Description: SCP-1307 is a standard black electric sharpener with a standard size receiving hole and loading bay underneath designed to catch pencil shavings. On its back is a standard electric cord which appears to be functionless. It will still activate whether or not it is unplugged. 1307 is activated in a similar manner to a conventional electric pencil sharpener by inserting a standard sized pencil into the hole of the front. The effect will not be activated by pens, pencil-shaped steel rods, or redacted. Note that this effect will be activated by mechanical pencils. Upon an individual inserting a pencil into 1307, the subject will find themselves unable to remove their hands from the pencil. All attempts to pry the hand from the pencil will fail, and the only way to remove the individual from contact is amputation of the hand. While 1307 is active, it adheres itself to the surface on which it is located and will not move. Additionally, the pencil becomes completely unbreakable. Once the pencil has sharpened down to the point where an individual's hand is located, it will continue to draw the pencil in, enlarging the hole as far as is needed to take in the hand of the subject. As the subject's hand is drawn in, it is sharpened along with the pencil, shredding the limb in the process. 1307, through the course of several tests, has demonstrated the ability to tear through a full human body in the course of about 4 hours. Despite severe blood loss, subjects are kept alive until the brain is destroyed, at which point the vital functions cease. 1307 then continues to take in the rest of the body and shred the entirety of the corpse. Afterwards, the only blood that is left in the area is any that did not land in the vicinity of 1307. Any blood spilled on, inside, or near seemingly vanishes along with the rest of the subject's body. Attempts to send trackers in through with the subject have been proven fruitless, as the trackers are shredded along with the individual. It was recovered at an elementary school in Colorado. Who made this? Did they just find it? Where did some of these safe ones come from, man? Seriously. Okay, the Hungarian Floater is Euclid. SCP-1308 is to be held in a modified standard enclosure on Bioresearch Site 21, such that the door mechanism, the main ventilation mechanism, and any apertures wider than 25 millimeters in 2 perpendicular directions have to be covered with a steel mesh and coated with a tin layer at least 0.0 millimeters thick. Any personnel entering the enclosure are to wear Level B hazardous materials protective equipment, modified by attaching strips of tin foil no smaller than 100 by 25 millimeters to the surface, no further than 50 millimeters apart. To ensure personal safety in case of damage to the suit, a layer of tin foil protecting the head and neck is to be worn under specified protective clothing while inside the enclosure, or during times of significant risk to an SCP-1308 containment breach. Note, aluminum foil is not acceptable substitute for tin, in this case, Researcher Eisenberg. All personnel entering the enclosure are to be equipped with a standard issue electroshock weapon. Personnel are to be reminded that due to a lack of discernible vital organs, gunfire is of limited effectiveness against instances of 1308. For longer incapacitation for research or capture or research, portable pressurized sprayer units with chloroform solution are to be used. These are to be issued to any Level 1 personnel with 1308 clearance that have undergone appropriate training. Sorry, I had to yawn. The enclosure of 1308 is to be kept at a temperature of 28 degrees Celsius and a relative humidity of 47%. Once per 10 days, it used to say 1 human cadaver within 4 hours of exodus. Now it says 1 live pig of mass CCA 50 kilograms per specimen, is to be introduced into 1308's enclosure. 2 days after each feeding, the cell is to be cleaned of residue. No more than 3 instances of 1308 are to be stored in a single enclosure. Newly captured specimens are to be examined for deviations in body makeup and classified as per document C. Implanted with a positioning and identification chip and internated in an enclosure as appropriate. Alright. SCP-1308 refers to several instances of an organism resembling an ambulatory sheet of human skin. CCA 1 by 3 meters in size. The size of the captured specimens varies within 15% of a set limit, with the exception of one instance which is only 1.8 by 0.9 meters in size. Thickness has been shown to vary throughout each specimen between 2 to 50 millimeters, depending on presence of additional organs or subcutaneous fat deposits. It is capable of flotation through currently unknown means. Examination has shown the presence of several cavities filled with hydrogen gas, roughly 20 by 150 by 5 millimeters in size, at roughly 200 millimeter spacing in the captive specimens. However, the volume of hydrogen gas present isn't sufficient to explain the low density, and current hypotheses consider these to be vibration-sensing organs. The upper surface of 1308 specimens resembles human skin, including features such as body hair, birthmarks, and occasional patches of keratin. The lower surface is smooth and contains a number of modified sweat glands capable of excretion of a translucent yellow liquid of composition resembling blood plasma. Below the skin, 1308 contains 2 layers of perpendicularly oriented muscular fibers, an adipose layer, and occasional segments of reinforced cartilage. The tissues of 1308 contain a large number of capillaries leading from the surfaces, apparently responsible for gas exchange. And towards the central mass, something on my screen? Okay, no. Toward the central mass, the blood circulation is ensured by means of a pattern of involuntary muscle contractions. Large-scale muscular contractions are used as a means of propulsion, and the musculature of 1308 has been shown capable of exerting forces upwards of 600 newtons. It has a decentralized nervous system composed of a grid of ganglia, CCA, I don't know if that's supposed to be circa or something else, 5 millimeters diameter, irregularly located with a density of 25 per square meters, connected by axon strands. DNA testing on cells harvested from 1308 instances confirms them to be human in origin. It appears to be sentient and seems to prefer secluded areas such as abandoned buildings, the vicinity of waste disposal facilities, or maintenance facilities. However, a single specimen redacted. When inactive, it will usually adhere to a wall or another structure, seemingly preferring heights of approximately 2.5 meters and above. Through specific patterns in muscular contractions combined with the folding of its body, 1308 is capable of emitting melodic sounds, as well as replicating sounds from the environment, including human speech with varying intensity. It is suspected that shaped keratinous platelets on the surface play a significant role in such emissions by acting as vibration notes. This property plays a role in luring potential victims. However, 1308 specimens tend to vocalize at apparently random times, even during or after feeding. If a human being approaches an instance, it will attempt to envelop and restrain them and force a significant part of its surface under their clothing, such that it is in contact with bare skin. Subsequently, the glands on the surface of 1308 will excrete one. One rapidly penetrates human skin and within 3 minutes of application causes permanent dissociation of intracellular bonds in animal tissues up to a depth of CCA 1 millimeter. The lower surface of 1308 has been shown to be resistant to this effect, while the upper is not. Once this has taken place, 1308 will proceed to slowly absorb the tissue and reintegrate it into its body mass through unknown means, a process which has been observed to take between 3 to 7 hours. Once the absorption is complete, 1308 will release its victim and float away. Archival records and testing have shown encounters with it to have a survival rate of roughly 80%, out of which most deaths were caused by secondary infections following large-scale skin loss, suffocation, or circulatory failure due to constriction or shock. Thorough cleaning of the wounds using physiologic solution followed by prophylactic levomycetin treatment have been shown to aid recovery. If large-scale areas are affected, skin grafting is recommended. The instances show intense reluctance of coming into contact with metallic tin and certain tin compounds. The cause seems related to one being an effective catalyst in the process of tin oxidation. Recovery log. SCP-1308 first came to the attention of the Foundation in Hungary at some point in 1995, following the hospitalization of Janos somebody, a maintenance employee at somewhere heat plant. Following his interview by a hospital psychiatrist and the unusual nature of his injuries, a Foundation liaison interviewed him posing as a Ministry of Agriculture Special Committee worker. See Addendum 1 for the interview. A plan of approach was drafted based on his testimony, and an instance was successfully captured in the maintenance tunnels. JB was treated with amnestics, and the hospital records were altered to record the injury as self-inflicted following a psychotic episode. To date, 5 more instances have been contained. And here's the interview. Interviewed Janos, maintenance employee of the heat plant. Researcher F, posing as a member of the committee of the Hungarian Ministry of Agriculture. I do not know what a Hungarian accent sounds like, so I'm not going to try to do one. Forward, JB was brought to the Blank State Hospital by his colleague Bella, who found him in one of the maintenance rooms. He was hospitalized immediately due to a head injury, extensive loss of skin tissue on his back, chest, and right arm, infection, and fever. Upon admission, his blood alcohol content was 0.5 promille. Claims of being assaulted by a skin bed sheet, coupled with the unusual nature of his injuries, prompted Foundation investigation. Bella, brought in the bottle? Pass it, before the doctor comes. Excuse me, Dr. Istvan Varga, trustee of the Ministry of Agriculture. The doctor? Agriculture? Do I look like a bull? Sorry, it was a joke. Who are you looking for? You are Janos B, born 1965 in, Zigid. Yeah, that's me, but what the hell? Sorry, I'm here because of what you told the doctor when they took you in. See, really? Fuck. He was saying he'll give me a calming shot, so... But agriculture? Your case isn't the first, Mr. B. What you encountered appears to be an invasive species of constrictor snake and accidentally imported from Uzbekistan. We just need to confirm some details before it can be properly reported and dealt with. Snake? It looked nothing like a fucking snake. It was, I don't know, like a skin, live skin, like on my arm? Hell, it even had hair and it was flying. It can float for short distances. It's a relatively rare species. It just has better living conditions under our geography. A lot like rabbits in Australia, but regardless. Your colleague told us he found you lying in the maintenance hall. Can you tell me what happened? Yeah. It was Tuesday, I think. I was doing 2 shifts, one for Gergely. Happened about an hour through the second one, not sure. Went to take a leak, then... What did I... Right. See, I thought I heard the radio. Thought Bella left it on or something, and I didn't notice before. Fuck, I thought. Gonna waste all the battery. So I went to look for it. Thought I heard it from one of the storage rooms. I thought, see, we went there for a smoke sometimes. It was odd too. Sounded like, I think I heard it once on television in some movie. Possible. Carry on, what happened when you entered? I went in, wait, no, I ran in. See, I was walking through the hall and suddenly the music stopped and I thought I heard a voice. So I grabbed a wrench and ran in. See, we had a trespasser before. The gate guard's rather old and he likes the bottles, so we've had a few problems with him. What problem? Hobos the fucks. Fuck them. Like, through the winter, but all the time something sneak in to sleep and make a fucking mess. So you went in. What happened? At first, nothing. I opened the door, nobody there. I went in, then fuck, I heard the shriek from behind and above me. I turned and this thing, like I said, like a carpet or a bed sheet, but it was floating in air, curled up like a bit like it was like a tube, and the music started again, and it went at me fast like a cat running. I froze, and I got my shit together, tried to hit it with the wrench. Didn't help. Did the hit damage it any? Oh, that it did. See, I got a pretty strong arm. The wrench tore a hole in it. Sprayed something out too, but it didn't care. See, the thing sort of flexed around my arm. Then it went up, it was warm, and it felt like being licked by a dog, but it held my arm really tight. Tried to yank it off, but I fell, and then the thing began sliding up and up my sleeve. Like I said, it looked like skin with hair. I think I saw a head or some such, but I don't know. Then it wrapped around what it could, tore through my shirt. Didn't make with the belt. Fuck, thank the Virgin Mary. Hell, because then, see, once it had me wrapped tight, it began doing something. It started slow, but then it burned like when you're chopping pepperons and touch your eye or dick or fuck. And it wouldn't let go. I tried to move, got to budge a bit, but wrapped again tighter, and I think a part of it was humming again, but it might just be my head. Hell, I don't remember how long I was there. What do you recall next? When it finally let me go, floated up off quite quick. I tried getting up, but it was my legs, arms all fell asleep. It took me ages just to get moving again. I ran to the main entrance hall, wanted to get the telephone, call someone. I think I tripped or something. The next thing I recall was Bella swearing and slapping me. Must have been his shift or what. Took me to the hospital, thought I hurt my head talking about this. That'll be all, thank you. Please take this pill, it's an antivenin. The poison of this snake is rather subversive, causes hallucinations at first, and if left untreated, liver damage after a few days. Thanks. Fuck, the doctors didn't know about that. JB was administered class A amnestics, the injury being explained to him as steam burns following a boiler accident. The hospital staff were informed his injuries were self-inflicted, and they, as well as his testimony, resulted from delusions of his own skin attacking him. Dang. Well, at least they got it, but at the same time, there hasn't been a better way to make a cover story than don't mind him, he's just crazy. And now it's time to check out that dare time lockdown, which is Euclid. Ugh. Site 24 has been constructed 7 kilometers east of 1309 for purposes of observation and record keeping. Any non-authorized individuals found approaching either area are to be detained, questioned, and administered claimed Class B amnestics prior to their release. 1309 is to be continuously monitored for any irregular activity, including spatial anomalies or behavior of its inhabitants. Interaction with the inhabitants of 1309 outside of authorized testing and interviews is to be kept to a minimum. Inhabitants showing continuous or otherwise invasive interest in Foundation personnel or objectives are to be administered Class B amnestics. Because the mechanics of 1309's anomalous properties are not yet fully understood, personnel are forbidden from spending more than 12 consecutive hours within 1309. Description: SCP-1309 is the town of Kleinburg, located in Dewey County, South Dakota. Although inhabitants claim they are located within Armstrong County. Let's see. Armstrong County was annexed into Dewey County in 1952. 1309 has a population of approximately 2,300. The town's inhabitants are of amicable disposition and are generally receptive to questions from Foundation personnel. Biological analysis shows no abnormalities within the inhabitants. It is effectively locked in a recursive period of time within the 1920s. Long-term observation has determined that events do not repeat with each cycle, and inhabitants retain all memories and experiences between cycles. Analysis of on-site records coupled with interviews have determined that the period of time is 3,289 days long, extending from February 5th, 1920 to August 19th, 1928. No discernible spatial or temporal anomalies are detectable when the cycle resets. Inhabitants of the town live and age as would be expected, and both deaths and births have been observed. As of writing, the only constant events in each cycle are the inhabitants' perceptions of time, and all outside news received in 1309 via radio broadcasts or newspapers. Newspapers and radio broadcasts received in 1309 are consistent with documentation from that time period and repeat on the correct dates. Assuming that the anomaly first took effect in accordance with the actual August 19, 1928, 1309 has commenced this 8-year cycle approximately 10 times. 1309 is largely self-sufficient. However, supplies that are rare or otherwise difficult to produce or obtain locally are delivered by a truck that materializes at the edge of 1309, and upon delivering supplies, dematerializes at the opposite edge. Commonly delivered supplies include non-local newspapers, brand name products and food, and certain raw materials. Interrogations of the drivers has determined that they have no awareness of any anomalous properties. Observation has determined that if an inhabitant of 1309 attempts to leave, they will dematerialize at the edge of town and immediately materialize on the opposite side. Questioning has found that inhabitants who disappear and reappear in this fashion believe they have just returned from an extended vacation. However, 1309's inhabitants typically show no desire to venture outside of their town, often stating they are content with life in their town. Inhabitants show no awareness of anomalous properties even when explicitly brought to their attention. See attached documentation for more detail. And Addendum A. A thorough survey of on-site historical records has revealed that the inhabitants of 1309 have diverged from the socio-political norms of the 1920s on more than one occasion. Some significant events are documented below. Due to the disorganized and repetitive nature of 1309's available records, it is difficult to tell when the events took place in regards to actual dates. However, a tentative order of events has been established. I'll check out the event log, but I don't really feel like I need to read the interview log. Let's see. For the first event, a significant portion of the population began advocating for the civil rights of African Americans. This movement does not have any discernible catalyst. This movement carried on for approximately 6 years. Notes, race relations within 1309 do not appear to be significantly different from what would have been expected of 1920s North America. The next one, inhabitants of 1309 began staging regular protests in front of City Hall, demanding that Warren G. Harding repeal the recently passed 19th Amendment. Analysis has determined that in actual time, Dwight D. Eisenhower was standing president. Note, South Dakota granted constitutional suffrage to women in 1917, 3 years prior to the passing of the 19th Amendment. The next one. Strong push for an increase in funding for science and education. Many inhabitants claimed it might be possible to get to the moon by 1934. No catalyst known. Analysis of available records have determined that this movement persisted for 2 full cycles, approximately 16 years. Description, large movement favoring the legality of homosexual marriage. Population as a whole appeared to be more open to homosexuality. The catalyst for this movement appears to have been a romance between 2 well-known male inhabitants of 1309. Both men are now deceased. And finally, a majority of the inhabitants began outing and ostracizing homosexuals within town. Protests are held demanding that homosexuality be purged from our town. It is currently unknown whether this event took place before or after the population's push for marriage equality. Weird. How long is the interview? I'll peek at it. It's not that long. Okay. Researcher Laura, someone interviewed George. The interview was conducted at the beginning of a new cycle. Good morning, Mr. Blank. Good morning, ma'am. I'd like to ask you a few questions, if that's alright. It's no trouble at all. This is for the papers or something. Yes, just a simple survey. Now, can I ask you how old you are? I am 29 years old. And your birth date? March 15th, 1922. Thank you. Just for the record, what is today's date? February 5th. And the year? It seems to have slipped my mind. One thing to lose track of is 1920. Thank you. Now, what was yesterday's date? It was August 19th, 1928. What exactly is this about? Bear with me, this is just routine. Now, if you're able, could you name the last 7 presidents of the United States? Is this some sort of history quiz? My memory isn't perfect, but I'm pretty sure it would be Wilson, Harding, then Harding died in office, so Coolidge took over, then it was Wilson, Harding, but he died 2 years into his term, Coolidge, and right now we have Woodrow Wilson. Mister, does anything you have told me strike you as odd? No, why would it? You told me that your birthday is March 15th, 1922, and that today's date is February the 5th, 1920, correct? And that the same 3 men have served as president for the last 7 terms. I did say that. What are you getting at? Think it through, mister. You believe that is 1920. That is a full 2 years before you said you were even born. Right. Furthermore, you said that yesterday was 1928. Do you believe 8 years have suddenly disappeared? I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Are you sure you're not confused? Do you know when your parents married, mister? They married in 1924, which is 4 years from now. That's correct. That isn't at all strange to you. No, ma'am. Alright, tell me, mister, how do you like living in your town? It's perfect. I never want to be anywhere but here now. Thank you very much, mister. I believe we're done here. You're welcome, I guess. Not sure what you got from this. So it does sound like they are entirely aware of time looping, and they are entirely aware that that's not normal, but it's not abnormal enough for them to really care about it. There's no telling how long he's been alive, but it says that people age normally and retain all their memories. So it's possible he was born in some other cycle of 1922, and since it resets every 8 years, then he's been alive for like 3 resets? I don't know. But that does it for this episode of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. And the next one we're going to be checking out Examination Room 10, Sudden Body Integrity Failure, Site 41, Solved for Bear, and Memetic Universe. If you like this video, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well so that you're notified of future uploads. And I will see y'all in the next one. Later.